脑洞永远不够多，只怕真相太寂寞。大家好，我是大鸡，欢迎回到我的频道。在这里呢，我们会一起来看一些那些在网络上面流传的一些奇异的、挑战我们认知的一些影片哦。那我们话不多说，赶快开始吧 ，Let's go！
All a surveillance company needs to start tracking you is your phone number. A new Citizen Lab investigation just caught 2 spy vendors doing exactly that, and the technique is terrifying because of how simple it is. Every cell carrier on Earth is connected to the same global signaling system. It's how your phone works when you travel internationally, and it was built on one assumption, that anyone on the network could be trusted. It doesn't require passwords, and it doesn't use encryption. Any carrier can ask the network where any phone is, and the network just tells them. So these spy vendors set up fake carriers, shell companies pretending to be real phone providers just to get plugged into that system. Once they're on it, they can ping any phone on the planet, and the network quietly tells them where you are. The researchers who found it said this is happening millions of times worldwide.
所以说如果说你想要窃取人家的资讯的话，就是自己开一个电话公司，然后你就可以去偷取别人的讯号，基地台的讯号。那我们抓到了2个这种间谍公司，那有没有更多的呢？ Alright.
Guys, here we go again. They've scanned the Giza Plateau and they think they found a second Sphinx. I know. At first I was like, no, we've debunked all the second Sphinx rumors and theories. That's not happening. But then I watched Filippo Biondi be a guest on the Matt Beal Limitless podcast, and he explained his evidence. He explained the scans, and I'm not gonna lie, I think there's something to it.
Okay, so this is a Google image, like from above, of the Giza Plateau. This on end of row B is where the current Sphinx is. That's the middle pyramid. C is the Great Pyramid, and then A over there is where they have located on the scans lots of underground shafts and vertical shafts and horizontal corridors that match the corridors and shaft pattern found under the current Sphinx. And not only that, but it is exactly mirror image flipped parallel to where the current Sphinx is.
And there's a whole lot of maths that just maths like precisely out, like the exact length of B from like the Sphinx to the middle pyramid, and from A to the Great Pyramid is exactly the same. And there's like a calculation of the height or the length of one side of the pyramids that correlates exactly in this sort of like, there's just a lot of maths that's saying if there was going to be a second Sphinx, mathematically, it would actually be here. So currently in that location that like the maths is pointing to and where they scanned, there's currently just like a big mound, which is apparently 55 meters tall. So it's not a small mound. There could be something under there. And this is not bedrock and this is not loose sand. I think it's like fortified sand or something. It's like pretty hard sand, but there could be something under this mound that's making the sand stick there.
Okay, here's where it gets spicy. This is the SAR topography scan of underneath that mound in that location, and it shows very clearly a almost hollowed out center to that mound, and then 3 separate vertical shafts going down, and the one at the very front going very, very deep indeed. And you can't see it on this scan, but he was saying on other angles, there are also horizontal passageways. So not only is there vertical shafts, there's horizontal passageways, and these shafts and the passageways mirror what they have scanned on the actual Sphinx. And why I also think this particular location possibly could be a tick, and it's tipping me a little bit into the maybe this is real, is that this over here, that little box, is the Tomb of the Birds, which we know is a actual entrance to an underground cave system that is on the Giza Plateau that has been explored by loads of people, but I think it was found by Andrew Collins in like the 2000s. And yeah, Tomb of the Birds, and it's literally like a stone's throw from that location. So if there is an entrance to a Giza underworld there, it makes sense that it's right by the, do you know what I mean? And the other one, and the other Sphinx right by the Osiris shaft. Do you know what I mean?
And here's just a little example of like shafts and cut bedrock and who knows what that can be hiding underneath these mounds of like solidified sand all over the plateau. Now, the only reason why anyone's looking for a second Sphinx is literally because of the Dream Stela, which was a stela that was in front of the original Sphinx, but not from the Old Kingdom, it's from the Middle Kingdom, like 18th dynasty, so it's from a later dynasty. But it shows this sort of like parallel Sphinxes. And there's always been a debate about, is it showing literal parallel to Sphinxes, or is it just metaphorical, or like esoteric, or like... you know what, because you could argue it both ways quite well, because the dude here is the pharaoh Tutmos, and so there's two Tutmoses, so, and there was only one pharaoh as far as we know, could have been a twin. So then they're saying that there's two Tutmoses, so it's just being pretty. But if there was a second Sphinx, they actually would be facing the right way, because you got this one, which is down here for the Middle Pyramid, and you got this one facing that way for the Great Pyramid. And if it's not just a pretty piece of art or like symbolic that they are sitting on top of chambers that go down, if they both do, then actually this was just a literal like photograph after all. So we don't know. What do you think? Where do you sit on this?
对，所以说呢，这个 Filippo Bondi 这个人哦，其实之前他跟他的团队发现了金字塔下面的8根柱子，就是可能是的8根柱子体的感觉的这个东西。那他们用的这个技术呢，就是 SAR 合成孔径雷达，也就是他们是使用这个卫星打出来的信号，然后反射回来之后所合成的影像，然后呢，他们好像还有再加上，就是合成嘛，所以再加上一些演算啊，再加上一些猜测的数字啊。不过呢，他的这个论述啊，目前来讲全部都还只是假说，所以说呢，那我们就是看什么时候他们可以开挖，因为看起来目前来讲，好像金字塔的负责人，他们的这个监管者好像并没有准许任何人去挖任何就是多余的地方。
This is bullshit.
You scroll down, you'll see an image of the Osiris shaft, which shows that they got an accurate depiction of that from space.
That's not true.
From satellite. It's not true.
No.
So what are you saying, that they're lying?
These techniques cannot show 600 feet under the pyramid. The Osiris shaft that I found was only 50 feet.
Right, but
under
it's
the
showing, at least for 50 feet, that this is accurate. What makes you believe those scientists rather than these guys from Italy?
But the scientists are scientists.
Well, these are scientists as well.
They are not showing their techniques carefully.
What do you mean they're not showing their techniques?
Take the Scan Pyramid project. They said this is bullshit. It cannot happen at all.
Telling me that these scientists, that they can see kilometers into the ground with this stuff.
That's not true. I did.
Are you sure?
I
you understand the technology?
No.
Have you talked to these scientists?
I made a press release.
Did you talk to them?
I did not.
Why not?
Because they did not talk to me. How can I find them?
Would you be willing to talk
Of
to them?
course
If I can
am.
connect you to them?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
The director of FEMA, Greg Phillips.
Gosh, what?
He claims he was driving from Alabama and then was instantly transported to a Waffle House in Georgia.
That's happened to me before.
He claims, though, that he was just driving along and then he just zoned out and he's in the parking lot of a Waffle House in Georgia. He said it was a total of 50 miles that he went instantly.
Whoa.
And he felt dizzy, he felt sick after. But then, compared it to a biblical event, like, was that intense.
Yeah.
Or, like, really messed with his head.
Yeah.
But apparently he was going through some cancer treatment and, like, he's like, oh, there's the medication and stuff like that. But recently, he's doubling down. He's like, I was transported.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
But I was here, and then I was there at a Waffle House.
Dude, what's going on? Sounds like a SEC Saturday night.
Wow， 是不是有的时候，比如说喝帮啦，或者是有的时候我们太累了，突然时间就这样跳过去，等你回神的时候，已经过了好一阵子。其实我有这样子的经验过，大家是不是有这样子的经验 Alright.
What if consciousness could affect the growth and spread of cancer cells? And no, the placebo effect is not involved here. So here's what happens when you have one of the world's top cancer research centers studying this, and its groundbreaking result might change the way we look at consciousness and how it influences biology. Researchers at MD Anderson published a monumental article where they studied biofield therapies against pancreatic cancer. And the biofield is defined as this field of invisible energy and information that relates to the underlying physiology of an organism. And they specifically studied a modality called the Bankston healing method. This is where trained healers go through an internal visualization practice where they rapidly cycle through desired mental images of their target in a relaxed state. And compared to controls and sham practitioners faking the healing method, the real biofield therapists were able to consistently reduce the growth and spread of multiple different types of pancreatic cancer cells, where these growth-suppressing effects appears to be cancer-specific because normal pancreatic cells were not affected. And in mouse models, biofield therapy consistently reduced the severity of cancer spread to the liver, where researchers found that these positive effects against liver metastasis was actually comparable to standard chemotherapy drugs. And most importantly, scientists may have finally found a molecular blueprint to why this works. They found that biofield therapies significantly reduced a protein called FOXM1, which is a key driver for cancer growth and metastasis. So conversely, when scientists genetically removed this protein, the positive effects to biofield therapies quickly diminished, suggesting that FOXM1 plays a central role to how biofield therapy works against cancer. So considering that all these rigorously studied effects happen without physical touch from the healers, it goes without saying that there's something going on here about consciousness, the mind, energy, and the biofield that science is finally giving the spotlight to. And this sets the foundation for future studies showing how conscious, intention-based energy practices are not only promising, but can be highly valuable and legitimate to supporting and complementing mainstream medicine.
所以说呢，很高兴就是西方的科学现在想要去钻研这个部分，所以说试着用比较科学的方式来做解释。然后呢，科学也赶上，其实现在医疗也赶上，所以说越来越感觉治疗癌症已经不是只可以用化学治疗的方式来完成。那真是一个好消息呢，可不可以再快一点啊，再加速一下。Alright.
Here's some crazy history that you did not learn in school. John F. Kennedy was raised so wealthy during the 1920s that he later admitted he didn't even know about the Great Depression until he read about it in books at Harvard. A cigarette lit in frustration by a Swiss physicist is what accidentally led to the invention of modern smoke detectors. One man by himself lent over $650,000 in 1975 money to fund the American Revolutionary War. He never had the money repaid, and he ended up at the end of his life penniless. Hotels in the early 1900s displayed signs all over the place that would say things like electricity is safe and not something to be afraid of. John Quincy Adams was almost assassinated when a man approached the White House with the intention of ending his life. But Adams was able to persuade this man to not end his life, gave him a job at the White House, and then kept in touch with him until this man passed away. At an inventor's lunch in October of 1912, Thomas Edison's daughter called Nikola Tesla our dear friend and the largest man I've ever seen. She mentioned that she was interested in him and his 6'2" height despite being engaged.
Oh wow, cool history. Alright, 那今天的影片就先到这里啦。如果喜欢这些影片的话，不要忘记帮我订阅、按赞，非常感谢。我们下次见 ，Have a good one， 拜拜。